A special guest joins us now from Hong Kong for a preview of what's to come at the World Economic Forum. Stephen Roach, chairman of Morgan Stanley Asia, is here. Good morning to you, Stephen. Thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Hello, good to see you.
I think one of the topics that will now be the most talked about at Davos is going to be President Obama's edict yesterday. What do you make of that?
Well, I think in this highly charged political season, bank bashing has become a favorite sport for politicians all over the world. This is fairly predictable with high levels of unemployment and all the political risk that is entered the equation in the United States, especially given the stunning defeat of the Democrat senatorial candidate in the liberal state of Massachusetts. So Obama's got to change his political tack, and bashing the banks is clearly the sport of the day. I'm hopeful, though, that the debate becomes more balanced, more even-handed, whether it's in Davos or in Washington, recognizing that the bankers alone certainly were not responsible for this horrific crisis that the world went through, that we had a major breakdown of regulatory oversight, we had terrible central banking policy, and we also had a huge failure of political oversight, which the Congress itself, of course, refuses to accept responsibility for. So this was a problem that involved an awful lot of the players in the system, and it's too bad that the bankers are being singled out as the sole party responsible for this whole mess.
Now, of course, Obama's political timing may be very pertinent for yesterday's remarks. He does need to reset his agenda. But in terms of a kind of a global reform, which is what the G20 talked about after Copenhagen, is it the case that we think that really Davos is a good place to do that, and the World Economic Forum, would you suggest, is the right place to do that?
Davos is a great forum for discussion amongst leaders and business people and policymakers from all over the world. But I think it's critically important to understand that the problems that the world we're facing right now are global in scope, and that's what Davos is all about, having global discussions. So when one nation, one president, one leader, one regulator tries to take matters into his own hands without coordination amongst other leading powers, say elsewhere in the G20, you introduce a lot of sharp differences between the approaches, say, in the United States and those in Europe or the UK or in Asia. When you have these differences, markets then get into this sort of process of what we call cross-border regulatory arbitrage, which is playing the differences between these different regulatory approaches. That's a very destabilizing outcome for markets.